Let's play a game. Guess what the word is.
Does this help?
Or this.
Only when you get a clear picture, everything out in the open in proper perspective, do you get the full picture.
Tidewater. That's the name used to designate the standard metropolitan statistical areas of Norfolk, Portsmouth, Hampton, Newport News, and almost 1 million people.
Our story concerns this region, Tidewater, Virginia, and the fact that too many people for too many years have looked at it like this.
Or this.
Or this.
To quote Philip Salisbury, editor and publisher of Sales Management,
Tidewater, Virginia is the most misunderstood major market in America.
This story begins with this fellow. We'll call him Freddie. He was stationed in the Tidewater area during World War II.
Now he's a knowledgeable businessman, well-versed in such things as marketing, advertising, and selling. But he remembers Tidewater as it was.
And do I remember, in those days it was, well, this was what they called downtown.
But not anymore, Freddie. This is downtown today. It's downtown Norfolk, but with a big difference. A massive building combining a department store, a modern restaurant, a parking garage, and an office building that houses, among other things, the Virginia State Ports Authority and the Norfolk Port and Industrial Authority.
Okay, but those fringe areas just on the edge of downtown, they weren't so great.
You're right. 20 years ago, they weren't. But look at them now. This is an example. On the same spot now stands a $7 million motor hotel. Even before it opened, more than 50 major conventions had been booked.
Well, maybe they have built some fancy new buildings, but what about living conditions? Those slums still around?
They're non-existent today. All of the cities of Tidewater, Virginia have undertaken mammoth slum clearance programs. Norfolk, for instance, was one of the pioneers in urban renewal and winner of the All-America City Award.
To this, add new highways, freeways, thoroughfares, a population influx that makes Tidewater one of the fastest growing areas in the southeast, and you begin to get a new picture.
You're right, Freddie. There was a time when Tidewater did look like this, in business, but not very attractive. But that has all changed, and because you weren't aware of these changes, you have contributed to the misunderstanding.
Well, maybe so. But is that the only reason Tidewater, Virginia is a misunderstood market?
Not by a long shot. There are other factors that figure in our story. Consider the area, for example.
Tidewater is not just Norfolk and Portsmouth. It's Norfolk and Portsmouth, and Hampton and Newport News. This is Tidewater.
Norfolk and Hampton are only 3 miles away. The business districts of Norfolk and Newport News are as close as Manhattan and Jersey City. In fact, all can fit in a 20-mile radius.
Travel between the cities is quick and efficient. This is a tunnel linking Norfolk and Portsmouth.
And now work is underway on a second tunnel to help relieve traffic congestion.
And this is a tunnel between Norfolk and Hampton. 2,491,200 vehicles went through in 1960. This is a gain of 171,805 over the previous year. An average of 471 vehicles more than the day before every day in the year. This has helped to create a single market area.
Let's study this, a street map of downtown Norfolk. In one small area, the leading radio and television stations of Norfolk, Portsmouth, Hampton, and Newport News have their sales offices, and many have their studios. It's not uncommon to hear a Norfolk station broadcast a Portsmouth baseball game that's sponsored by a merchant in Newport News. Radio and television signals do not honor arbitrary boundary lines.
But sometimes some people act as though they do. Take Printers, Inc., for example. In its 1960 Guide to Marketing, it cited the Norfolk metropolitan market and completely ignored Hampton and Newport News. In the 1961 book, a portrait of the market was given, but it did not show the two markets joined. Printers, Inc. admits it's there, but did not relate the significance. Therefore, this doesn't seem to be a true guide to marketing.
Or Broadcasting Magazine. This page tells how much radio advertising money each market received. It gives the figures for Norfolk, but not for Newport News. The size of the market was misrepresented here by approximately 1/3.
These folks are like our friend Freddie. They're only looking at part of the area. The full picture is quite different.
Actually, this is the true picture, compactness. Tidewater has a lot of people. In population, it's bigger than Boston, or Milwaukee, or Pittsburgh.
But these people of Tidewater, almost 1 million in all, live within a radius of 20 miles. It's the greatest population concentration in the southeast, twice the density of Atlanta or Miami. The result is a marketing and selling plus for any businessman.
If Freddie were to return today to compact Tidewater, he would realize that he can get better distribution of advertising merchandise, better coordination of wholesale and retail activities and promotion, more results per man-hour of merchandising effort, more sales per advertising dollar, no costly overnight trips, no distribution problems.
One salesman in compact Tidewater can accomplish as much as a team of salesmen in a widespread market area. Do it in less time and chalk up bigger consumer sales figures. And he wouldn't even need a pogo stick.
Okay, so there are lots of people, and there are bright new buildings and tunnels and radio television stations in the same area. Who are the buyers? What about business in this Tidewater? What's the climate?
The climate is wonderful, very warm. Why, the mean temperature is...
No, I mean the business climate. But don't go away, young lady.
I think I can answer that one, Freddie. Remember the uniform? People think of Tidewater as just one big encampment of servicemen here today and gone tomorrow, but it's not so. The Navy, for instance, has been big business in the area since 1917, and it's there to stay. It contributes importantly, and it's only one of the big segments of the overall business picture.
Here's an example. The Norfolk Naval Base, the logistic unit that supplies men, material, and services to the entire Atlantic Fleet.
Inside the base is the supply center, stocking over 500,000 items and employing 6,000 civilians. It's the largest supply operation in the United States.
Another important naval activity, the shipyard in Portsmouth, one of the largest in the Western Hemisphere. It employs nearly 15,000 civilians.
Tidewater is also headquarters for an international military command, Supreme Allied Command Atlantic, the NATO Navy.
The Navy's payroll last year totaled more than $400 million, and nearly half of that was civilian.
But the Navy is not the only defense activity of the area. Hampton is the home of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It's home base for the Mercury astronauts and for thousands of engineers, scientists, and technicians. Here, the annual civilian payroll is $50 million.
Adjacent to NASA is Langley Air Force Base, headquarters of the Tactical Air Command. And nearby is Fort Monroe, home of the Army's Continental Command. Tidewater is the home for other important service installations, 32 in all, representing all the armed forces.
You're absolutely right. It's a big military area. But I read the statistics and the charts.
The trouble is, you're reading the wrong statistics, or not all of them. Look at this. This is one of the many huge commissaries in the Tidewater area. Together with ship stores, post exchanges, and various clubs, they represent annual retail sales of at least $13 million. But you never see these figures. They're never reported in any statistical survey of the market. All of these facilities are on military reservations, but the people who shop there are motivated by advertising as much as those who shop at the corner supermarket. The advertiser's message gets through. But when the reports are placed on his desk, millions of dollars in sales are not there. He doesn't know it, but his advertising cost per consumer or unit is way below what is shown.
So it begins to look like this, huh?
Even better than that, Freddie, because there are some other important points to be made. A civilian would have to make $8,408 a year to equal the services and goods a serviceman receives. A serviceman who makes $3,709. This is what sales management means when it says,
the presence of armed forces frequently constitutes a hidden plus. Their average income, while well below the national average, frequently is largely available for discretionary spending.
That constitutes a hidden plus. It's conservatively estimated that in the Tidewater area there is at least $200 million in effective buying income that is not reported.
It's not apparent, just as in the game we started playing. You have to look for it. But it's there, and it makes a whale of a big difference.
There are some other things to learn about the economics of Tidewater. The area is blessed with the world's greatest natural harbor, ice-free and this means big business.
Every 84 minutes, a ship leaves Hampton Roads, the great body of water shared by all of Tidewater. And each ship that calls leaves behind expenditures ranging from $25,000 to $100,000 for goods and services.
Tidewater is the coal, grain, and tobacco export capital of the world. The Norfolk and Western and the Chesapeake and Ohio, the nation's leading coal haulers, both maintain giant facilities in Tidewater. The result? The port complex of Norfolk and Newport News leads all other ports anywhere in export tonnage.
The maritime industries of Tidewater provide about 40,000 jobs locally, with a payroll of $170 million. It would take 665 industrial plants of average size to equal this.
Because of the area's historic link with the sea, Tidewater has attracted a number of industries connected with shipping. Shipbuilding is to Tidewater what automobile manufacturing is to Detroit. The Newport News Shipbuilding and Drydock Company is Virginia's largest single industry. It has built the SS United States, the world's fastest passenger liner. The carrier Enterprise, the Navy's first atomic carrier, and the keel has been laid for another supercarrier. The backlog of contracts is close to $500 million. The yard employs 30,000 persons with a total annual payroll of $110 million.
There are other shipyards in the area, plus such specialized facilities as Esso's oil bunkering terminal at Newport News, one of the largest on the East Coast.
Other industries not directly linked with maritime commerce also are found in Tidewater. Amoco's new $30 million refinery.
Dow Chemical's new $15 million plant for the production of synthetic fibers.
Cargill's $2 million grain elevator.
A new distribution center for Colonial stores servicing more than 300 supermarkets in 3 states. And to all this you can add Lone Star Cement,
Union Carbide,
Lipton Tea,
Phillips Petroleum,
Union Bag Camp,
Ford Motor Company,
Smith Douglas Fertilizers and Chemicals.
Add dozens of others, put them all together, and they spell economic health for this Quad City area of Virginia. Norfolk, Portsmouth, Newport News, and Hampton.
Tourism and travel is another big business for the Tidewater area of Virginia. Its famous resorts, Virginia Beach, Ocean View, and Buckrow Beach, comprise a major warm weather playground for the mid-Atlantic region.
There are many attractions in the Tidewater area.
For those with more interest in history, Colonial Williamsburg is becoming one of the top tourist attractions in the nation. 1 million visitors a year, an annual operating budget of $10 million. Nearby is Yorktown and Jamestown. All this means big business.
The Virginia Travel Council estimates local tourist business at $100 million a year, and that is still another big plus for the economy.
All these factors are present in Tidewater today, but they'll be increased and augmented tremendously in the near future. The reason is this $200 million bridge tunnel system across lower Chesapeake Bay, now well under construction. It will place Tidewater, Virginia, 70 miles closer to New York and put it on the fastest north-south route in the East.
These predictions of future growth are not ours. They come from such sources as Newsweek magazine.
Once the Chesapeake Bay crossing is completed, the experts say, Greater Norfolk will burst into millions and become the South's leading market.
Cosmopolitan magazine for December 1960 says that Norfolk is rated as one of the 9 cities in the nation with the greatest growth potential. And the magazine says this is based not on long-term guessing, but on events in the next 10 years.
Still another prediction comes from Charles Agel, planning consultant of Princeton University.
This new link will make Greater Norfolk the Manhattan of the South.
But Freddie doesn't have to wait for all these predictions to come true. Right now, today, he can buy the Tidewater, Virginia market and get more for his dollar than in any market in the Southeast.
It's a big market, larger than the statistics indicate, bigger than the cities of Boston or Milwaukee or Pittsburgh.
It's a compact market with almost 1 million people living inside a 20-mile radius.
It's a market with a hidden plus of $200 million, an effective buying income not reported.
It's an area with superior maritime facilities,
With bustling industry.
with attractions for visitors.
It's a new and bustling market area with a new look and a new outlook. And for radio and television purposes, it is one metropolitan market.
So I don't have to wait for all those predictions. It's a good bet now.
Tidewater, Virginia, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Newport News, and Hampton is not only a good bet, Freddie, it can't be overlooked. The advertiser, researcher, or buyer must reevaluate its position as a must-buy market at the top of the booming South.